Whether we know this or not, whether it's acknowledged or not, we are in a constitutional crisis right now because we have judges that have a chip on their shoulder. We have judges right now that are usurping the president's presidency. They are using their power to overthrow. And it can't be seen another way. They're using their bench to overthrow a presidency. And hold on a second. Before you think that I'm just making it up because I'm a partisan, I'm not. I am not. Here, this is what you got to know. Judge says Trump administration must keep Biden era program shielding Venezuelans from deportation. Now, when we have elections so that the people actually get a voice. When a judge can step in and say, no, we're going to keep the former president's plan in place. What does that tell you about that judge? How does he, an unelected judge, get to pick and choose whose president's orders are followed? This is insanity right now. A federal judge in San Francisco. I mean, do I need to go any further? Yeah, I mean, come on. A federal judge in San Francisco moved to postpone the Trump administration from ending the Biden era program that shielded hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants from deportation. U.S. Senior District Judge Edward Chen ordered the Department of Homeland Security. Just stop right there. Just let me read that one more time. U.S. Senior District Judge Edward Chen ordered Department of Homeland Security to postpone revoking temporary protected status for 350,000 Venezuelans living in the United States who are given work authorization and shielded from deportation by the Biden administration in October 2023. Chen said that the revocation would cause irreparable harm and hurt the economy. It's like, hold on, that let's say that this is true. Let's say it will do irreparable harm and it will hurt the economy. What gave you the right to usurp the United States president? Let's say that you are absolutely right. Exactly what article in the Constitution are you using to do this? How are you doing it? What article, what document gave you the authority to override a duly elected president of the United States? How did you do that? Because if you can, as a judge, override a sitting president, why do we have an election in the first place? If a judge can come along and override the will of the presidency. I am astounded by this. The decision comes after Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that she was revoking the TPS status. Understand, it's temporary. It's temporary. And I assert that this judge wants it to be permanent. It's a temporary status, not permanent. The decision comes as Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that she is revoking the TPS status, saying that conditions had improved in Venezuela and that it was not in the America's best interest to maintain the program. In response, a group called National TPS Alliance sued to block Noem's decision. Once again, you have somebody coming in telling this administration, Kristi Noem works for the president. You have a group now coming in contesting. And here, see, I guess, this stuff gets really excited. You've got two groups now in front of the court. Homeland Security and Alliance, the National TPS Alliance for the, Venezuelans. But what the judge is going to rule on affects the rest of the country. Well, spoiler alert, the rest of the country is not in front of the court. See, this is why this is egregious. Chen sided with the national, what an amazing, wow, it's such a surprise. He sided with the TPS Alliance in his order and said that Noem's decision was not backed by evidence, including allegations of the gang affiliations. Noem had said there are an increased presence of Venezuelan gang members connected to the Tsae de Agua. Chen said that the argument was baseless and smacks of racism, predicated on generalized false stereotypes. Is that so? Listen to this. I'm telling you, he is telling the president of the United States that the temporary is not temporary. Watch, look at what he says. The secretary's rationale is entirely lacking any evidentiary support, Chen said in a ruling. For example, there is no evidence that Venezuelan TPS holders are members of the TDA gang, have connections to the gang, or commit crimes. The Obama-appointed judge also claimed that TPS recipients were more educated, more involved in the workplace, and less likely to commit crimes than American citizens. You would think that you should be deported. Listen, Chen said that the TPS recipients, quote, have a higher education attainment than most U.S. citizens, have a higher labor participation rates, earned nearly all their personal income, and annually contribute billions of dollars to the U.S. economy and pay hundreds of millions, if not billions, in Social Security taxes. They also have lower rates of criminality than the general U.S. population. So if you were to read this, why would you get rid of them? They're more American than you. In fact, we should start deporting Americans, and we need to start importing people from Venezuela. Why aren't we importing them? According to this judge, they're better than us. He's making the case that the temporary is no longer temporary. It is permanent, that we have to keep these people here because, look, they're more educated than you are. What the hell does that have to do with their citizenship? It's unbelievable. So hang on a second. Listen to this. This is Newt Gingrich. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Newt Gingrich is actually a historian. Listen to his arguments.
I've been around long enough that I remember talking with Jefferson. And when I talked to Jefferson, he said, you simply can't have an oligarchy. And if you allow judges to be the final determinants, you by definition have left the people behind and established an oligarchy. I really think if you look at Lincoln, and if you read Fehrenbacher's extraordinarily detailed book on Dred Scott, Lincoln makes the Dred Scott decision the centerpiece of the 1858 campaign. And when Lincoln is very clear about this, think about Lincoln at Gettysburg, when he says government of the people, by the people, and for the people. He's not only referring to Southern slave owners, he's referring to the court. And he's saying, by definition, you cannot usurp the right of the elected officials. Now, if you read the Federalist Papers, it's very clear that the Founding Fathers thought the weakest of the three branches would be the judiciary, that it would always be cautious because it would always be subject to being overwhelmed by the executive and legislative together. And in fact, you all represent the branch the Founding Fathers most feared.
Remember I told you guys that the framers believed that the most innocuous branch of our government would be the judiciary, and that is proven to be false. Hold on a second, because you got to hear this, because this is what's happening right now in your country, and it's not
well,
good.
I think if you look at the recent reports from various polling firms, clearly a majority of Americans believe that no single district judge should be allowed to issue a nationwide injunction. And I think that
no single judge should have the power to invoke a national-wide ban on anything. You're not talking about the Supreme Court. You're talking about one judge. And by the way, that one that has, he's going to be ruling on the single gate and Trump's, the Venezuelans you have to bring that plane back. That guy is going to be ruling on that. And he used to be in the FISA court. Did you know that? That he was a FISA court judge. You know, that secretive, un-American court where you don't get to know who's accusing you, and the surveillance state gets to spy on you and anyone you're in contact with. He was one of those judges. And so he just thinks that his dookie don't stink.
when you look, in my judgment as a historian, this is clearly a judicial coup d'etat. You don't have this many different judges issuing this many different nationwide injunctions, all of them coming from the same political ideological background, and just assume it's all random efforts of justice. This is a clear effort to stop the scale of change that President Trump represents. And I agree, a lot of this stuff can be fought out. Some of it should be fought out in the Congress, but it shouldn't be micromanaging the executive branch on national security issues by random single judges who have no standing, they have no particular knowledge, they haven't been in the room, they don't know what the consequences of what they're doing are, and they put both Americans and the nation at risk when they intervene to become basically alternative presidents. You now have potentially 677 alternative presidents, none of whom won an election.
None of whom won an election. These are all unelected. I mean, you want to talk about oligarchs? You're looking at them. These judges, you're looking at them. It is insanity right now. I got to tell you, man, because at some point, you're just going to have to say, I'm sorry. I'm not abiding by this. It's ridiculous. You have no standing here. Why am I listening to you? Why am I listening to you? You have no standing to tell the president what he can and cannot do, and then expect them to absolutely bend the knee to you. Have you lost your mind? So I'm telling you, man, Donald Trump, I believe we cannot continue on like this. Something has to break. And I got to tell you, man, Roberts, Chief Justice, he's bugging me right now. Bossberg roomed, I guess, with Brett Kavanaugh, and this is all like a little club. All of these judges, it's like a little club. And you ain't in it. And they just protect their own. So when you had Justice Roberts coming out, eviscerating Donald Trump, he was protecting his buddy. He wasn't talking about the law. He was protecting his friend. These judges, man, they have gone hog wild. And they have to be put, somebody has to depose them. And the only real remedy, I believe, is impeaching. Let's see what the people have to say. Let's see what the American people have to say about it. And these people need to be impeached. At the time that I'm recording this, I don't know what's happened to Wisconsin because by now I believe the tally should be in. So I will be covering that the second it happens. All right, that's it for now. If you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe. And if you're following me on Rumble, please press that follow button. And until the next time, God bless.